I'm Felipe Venture, ED at Tequeria. I'm joined by Donna Ramos, co-lead of Dreamers in Tech. Before we start our presentation on how we mobilize for our community network to aid undocumented workers, I want to give a special thanks to Octogatos and the organizing team for setting all of this up. They're doing a wonderful job. And yeah, before we start, I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we're streaming from. We're currently in the Bay Area, and the traditional owners are the Ohlone people. We pay our respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and stand in solidarity with Indigenous people of this land in their struggle for recognition, reparations, and land rights. And we also stand in solidarity with those fighting racial justice and unequivocally assert that Black Lives Matter. So I'd like to introduce Tequeria. If you don't know Tequeria yet, we are a 501c3 nonprofit that serves the largest community of Latinx in tech. We have a thriving community. We invite you to join, whether you identify as Latinx or not. We'd love to see you there. Our mission is to create leaders in this space and just promote them and have just a great dialogue with our community.
Hi, everyone. My name is Donatiu Ramos. I am one of the co-chairs for Dreamers in Tech. And Dreamers in Tech is a network of undocumented individuals and allies committed to increase diversity and inclusion in the tech industry. Dreamers in Tech is on a mission to create safe spaces where the tech industry can meet the undocumented community. And we want to help our undocumented community by establishing connections, providing resources, and helping individuals on their narratives.
Awesome. So with this presentation, we want to show you all how we mobilized our network to help undocumented workers. We think that it's in the interest for ERGs and just other groups of volunteer organizers to have this as a template, because it shows how you can mobilize within a short time frame and make a big impact. So what was our goal? Our goal was to provide mutual aid to workers left out of the formal economy and the federal and state stimulus plans. So we mentioned here mutual aid specifically instead of charity because it's our guiding philosophy for this fund. And mutual aid is about recognizing that we're all facing overlapping struggles, that we need to work together, not necessarily for one another, but with one another in a way that's respectful and shows solidarity. And this is why when we were envisioning this project, we incorporated undocumented members of our community and beyond in every step of the process. We're also interested in not just like a one-off impact, but the long-term impact of how we work together and provide multiple forms of aid, not just money. So yeah, mutual aid involves sharing and providing access to information and other resources. We're also motivated by the ability to function on a national scale in areas where there's not that much support for undocumented members of our community. And throughout this presentation, we're mentioning specifically the term a community network. And it's different than just a community and a network, because a community network shares 4 characteristics that I think that our community embodies. And that is providing a public space, emphasis on communication rather than just sharing information, having a local focus, and covering all aspects of a member's life, not just their professional life.
So why fund for undocumented workers? We decided to fund for undocumented workers because many of the members in our community have lost their jobs. They've taken pay cuts and they're struggling working full-time and also parenting. Most of all, again, the undocumented community and the undocumented individuals are suffering. I think one of the major things is the unfair distribution of aid from the government when the stimulus check did not aid those undocumented communities. Over 11 million undocumented individuals are part of our communities across the country, and they're also taxpayers. And those who file their taxes using an individual taxpayer identification number, an ITIN for short, instead of a social security, did not receive that stimulus check. So for example, in a family where there's individuals of mixed status, if, for example, there's a family of 6 and one of them uses an ITIN number, that family will disqualify for receiving that stimulus check from the government. Also, it was important to us to do this because there is just a lack of organizations supporting the undocumented community across the country. There's a lot of farm workers, service workers, a lot of blue-collar jobs that our community are part of, and all these in our communities across the country, and in many of these regions, they're just not as lucky to have organizations that provide that aid or just provide information during these difficult situations. And Tequeria wants to help our most vulnerable members in this time and crisis. And it's clear that we're living in an unprecedented and unpredictable moment, and we will only get through it by coming together.
Thank you, Tona. So I would like to just talk a little bit of how we did it and the process. Before I go into details, I just wanted to give a shout out to the team of core volunteers and name them real quick. It was composed of Andrea Flores, Brian Trejo, Carolina Castro, David Silva, Dulce Villarreal, Edward Barrios, Esteban Uribe, myself, Francis Coronel, Francisco Cruz Mendoza, Lee Gangas, Pablo Carvajal, Shasha Jane, Susie Jimenez, and Tona, who's joining us as well. So the phases. So we never carried out a fund like this or had a project like this. We traditionally focus on creating events and providing like professional networking opportunities. So this was a big shift for us in capability as a nonprofit. So our initial phase was coming together as a core group of volunteers, and on the week of March 22nd, and just assessing like what is it that we can do, and what is a timeline that we want to do it in. And we decided that given the situation, we wanted to act quickly in a time frame of 2 weeks, and based on our core group and also our partners, that we could make that happen. And we had a goal of raising $50,000. So we established an initial application process that was live, I would say maybe just 1 or 2 days. And part of that was that we already have a large network of undocumented people within our community. And that network reached out to their network, and it was a quick process to get applications. And there was also a very big need. And so that happened the week of April 1st. So next was establishing a workflow to process those applications. So like I said, we had an initial application that was multilingual. And once we got all of those, we actually went through around 10 and 20 together as a group, and just started to like understand like how people were expressing themselves, what were the needs, and discuss like coming up with a rubric to essentially assess what were the needs for individuals and who needed the help most, which households needed the help most. And so we came up with a ranking based on food insecurity, housing insecurity, immediate medical needs of the household and surrounding family, and whether or not at the time of application they were affected by COVID. And so once that happened, we reduced the amount of applications to around 250. It was a very difficult choice because everyone had a need. But with those 250, we had an additional application phase where we asked for supporting documentation, and the applicants sent us that through email, through photos, and we also connected directly with them through text and phone when necessary. So all throughout this process, having the context and lived experience of undocumented members on the team was invaluable for us to actually be able to make a real sustainable impact. And we were also using similar campaigns that we had seen that were going on at the time and building on them. So once this second phase was done, we came with around 120 plus applications that were successfully verified, and we felt confident that we had done all of our due diligence for. And so the next phase was distribution. And this was an interesting part because 70% of our applicants had a bank account. So for that demographic, distribution was fairly easy because we could send funds through a digital check, and that could be received within 30 minutes in some cases, in other cases, maybe 1 to 2 days. For the applicants that did not have a bank account, it was a bit trickier. And for that demographic, we partnered up with an organization called Community Financial Resources that has a lot of experience dealing with undocumented communities and providing aid to them directly. And so through them, we were able to provide prepaid Visa check cards with tracking, and applicants received those within 3 to 5 business days.
Yeah, I think just a reminder that I think it's just easy to not take action, but during this pandemic, the most affected communities, there's people suffering, the people suffering from homelessness will increase. The most disadvantaged tend to live paycheck by paycheck, and families in these communities often lack savings to cover emergency medical needs or any type of health emergency that may arise. But I think as for taking this, going through this fundraising, we did, what did we leverage? I think some of the things that we leveraged was definitely the access to information, and just knowing the needs of our community, and just seeing examples from other organizations with similar campaigns. And we were able to get all this knowledge just through the large community, through the large community network that we're part of. The Korea, Dreamers in Tech, Latinas in Tech, Code Nation, and New York State Youth Leadership Council. And just having a background in fast implementation and rollouts, I think working in tech, we were able to collaborate very easily and to get volunteers and staff mobilized fast. And yeah, so what were the results from this campaign? As you can see, we have 683 relief fund applicants. We supported 123 families. 108 families received a grant of $400, and the total fundraise was $51,429. Other interesting data that we have is the average family size of applicants was 3.4. So these are families often with, it's a large families. The applications we received were from 28 different states. So it's very exciting to see applicants from across the country. I think that was just one of the things that we're very excited about, like being able to cover families in different regions. And yeah, and just talking about the income level of these applicants, I think almost over 99% were considered low wage workers, 42% were unemployed, and 58% had an hourly wage lower than $20 an hour. And yes, I think like it was mentioned before, 30% of applicants didn't have a bank account.
Yeah, and so we did this in a span of 2 weeks. If we were to do this fund for 6 months to a year, we would do a lot of things differently. One of them was to set up a proper fiscal fund for this purpose. We're a 501c3, and there's different types of tax-exempt organizations just for this purpose, and we would leverage that. We would also, in terms of scaling this to more people, would need more full-time support. We were operating with a volunteer group, like I mentioned, of 16 people, and they did, we all did an amazing job, given that, we had other jobs to do as well. But if this is more of a long-term project, dedicated support would definitely be needed. And along those lines, we definitely see the value of partnering up with organizations that are already operating the space. And that's one of the reasons that after this fund, we decided to partner up Dreamers in Tech, and are currently fiscally sponsoring the Dreamers in Tech organization through Tequeria for the short term. So some takeaways. Like I mentioned in the beginning, we think that this project is a really good template for what groups like ERGs can do in case they're interested in expanding or replicating it. And we also wanted to mention that Tequeria and Dreamers in Tech, if it's the case that you, through your organization, your ERG wants to partner up, we're here to extend your capacity and support you all in any way that we can. We've been really big advocates for employee resource groups and what you all do. I've had the pleasure of working with many ERGs in the Bay, and that's work that's instrumental to our mission. And so together, we can support other organizations that are already doing the work, specifically with undocumented members and beyond. And together we can strategize how to not only build our alternatives, but divest and abolish organizations contributing to the problem. So if you want to reach out, feel free to reach out to us. This is some of our contact information. You could also join our Slack, tequeria.org/join, and dreamersintech.org. And thank you so much for your time and for having us.
Yes, thank you. And we're happy to be here. Thank you for Octogatos for organizing this, and we hope that ERGs and other communities that have the power and the capacity to help these communities take action, and they can always do that by connecting with us. And we hope to hear from you. Thank you.